Emma Carter never thought anything unusual was happening in her life until the small things started piling up. She lived in a quiet Vancouver neighborhood with her husband, Noah, a calm and dependable man who carried warmth wherever he went. Their marriage was steady, built on years of trust and shared memories. But even the strongest homes sometimes feel a small shake before anyone notices. The shift started when Emma's new coworker, Lena Brooks, joined her office. Lena was friendly in a gentle, way-soft voice, kind words, and a habit of smiling at everyone. At first, Emma felt comfortable around her. They shared coffee breaks, joked about meetings, and quickly became close enough to exchange small personal stories. Nothing felt wrong. Nothing felt odd. But slowly, Emma started noticing something she couldn't name. The first time it happened was a regular Thursday afternoon. Emma's phone buzzed. Noah had arrived early to pick her up. When she walked toward the entrance, she noticed Lena standing by the glass doors, staring outside. At first, she assumed Lena was enjoying the view of falling leaves. But as Emma got closer, she realized Lena wasn't looking at the street. She was looking directly at Noah, not in a rude way, not in an inappropriate way. Just a little too long when Lena saw Emma approaching, she straightened quickly, tucking her hair behind her ear. "Your husband is so sweet," she said with a shy smile. Emma felt a tiny pinch in her stomach. She brushed it off. Compliments were normal. People admired Noah's kindness all the time. But that day, the compliments stayed in Emma's mind longer than expected. Over the next few weeks, small things kept adding up. If Noah stopped by the office, Lena's posture changed. She sat straighter, touched her necklace, glanced at him with a quiet softness. When Emma talked about her weekend plans with Noah, Lena listened with too much interest. She didn't ask the usual friendly questions. Instead, she watched Emma's face as if trying to imagine herself in those moments. Emma didn't tell anyone. She didn't want to sound dramatic. She wasn't angry. She wasn't jealous. She wasn't even threatened, just curious. She found herself observing Lena more closely, trying to understand what she was feeling. Lena was single, recently moved to the city, rebuilding her life after a breakup. She didn't have many friends yet. Maybe she liked Noah because he represented stability and comfort. That wasn't something worth judging her for. Still, Emma could feel a quiet tension forming inside her heart. Not heavy, just present. Not fear, but an awareness. And that awareness grew the evening she found a message from Lena on her phone. Emma had posted a photo of Noah fixing a shelf at home. Underneath, Lena had commented, "He seems like such a good man. You're lucky." The words were harmless, sweet, innocent. But Emma stared at the screen for a long minute. The message wasn't wrong. The tone wasn't dangerous. Yet something in it felt deeper than casual admiration. Emma locked her phone and set it aside. She didn't overthink it. She simply listened to her emotions. And what surprised her most was that she didn't feel upset. Instead, she felt something warm, something complicated, something she hadn't expected. It felt like a mix of empathy and curiosity. She wondered what Lena truly felt when she looked at Noah. She wondered why she felt connected to the softness in Lena's eyes that night. Lying beside Noah as he slept peacefully, Emma kept replaying the moments in her mind. Lena's shy glances, her compliments, her nervous hands, her long pauses. Emma wasn't imagining it. Something was there, something unspoken. And instead of pulling away from it, Emma felt drawn to understand it. The realization came quietly. Lena wasn't a threat. She was lonely. And Emma, instead of feeling fear, felt compassion. The next morning, Emma woke with surprising clarity. She didn't want to gossip about it or pretend it wasn't happening. She didn't want to confront Lena. She simply wanted to understand her not from a distance, not through small office moments, but properly. So she asked Lena. She wanted to come over for dinner. The invitation slipped out naturally in the middle of their lunch break. Lena blinked, startled. "Dinner, you mean? At your place?" she asked, her voice going soft. Emma nodded, watching the way Lena's surprise quickly turned into a quiet, grateful smile. "I would love that," she whispered. The moment Lena accepted, Emma felt her heart beat faster, not out of fear, but anticipation. She wasn't sure what she was hoping to see or hear, but she knew something was building between the three of them. Something subtle. Something emotional. She told Noah they were having a guest, but didn't explain anything else. She wanted to see everything unfold naturally, without shaping the moment before it happened. When the evening arrived, Emma moved around the house with more attention than usual. She fixed cushions, lit a candle, placed fresh flowers on the table. She wasn't trying to impress Lenoche, just wanted the atmosphere to feel calm, open, safe. But when the doorbell finally rang, a quiet tremble moved through her. She knew this night would change something. Maybe something small. Maybe something big. Because when she opened the door and saw Lena standing, there nervous, graceful, hopeful Ma realized she wasn't just inviting a coworker inside her home. She was stepping into the heart of a story she couldn't yet fully understand. And it was only the beginning. Lena stepped into Emma's living room carrying a small plate of cookies. Her hands trembled slightly, and she smiled politely, trying to hide the nervous flutter she felt inside. Emma noticed immediately the way Lena's shoulders tensed, how her eyes flicked toward Noah, who was casually arranging chairs by the window. Something about the glance lingered just a second too long, a silent admiration hidden behind polite manners. Emma felt a strange warmth in her chest, neither anger nor jealousy. Just an understanding that this young woman carried feelings she hadn't fully expressed yet. Noah looked up when Lena entered. He smiled, genuinely pleased, and the air lightened. "Lena, thanks for coming," he said. His voice had that calm, inviting tone he always had, the kind that made people feel at home immediately. Lena's cheeks flushed faintly, and she mumbled a soft thank you, placing her plate carefully on the side table. Emma watched, fascinated, as Lena adjusted her posture, trying to appear confident while secretly struggling with her emotions. Dinner started quietly, with small talk about work, the weather, and the books they had been reading. Lena's voice was soft but intentional. She laughed at Noah's jokes in a way that was a little too attentive, leaning slightly toward him when she spoke. Emma could feel the subtle tension building, but she didn't interrupt or scold. Instead, she focused on observing, quietly learning about the emotions in the room. Lena's admiration was obvious, but it wasn't threatening, it was human. It reminded Emma that people crave connection in different ways. And sometimes feelings appear unexpectedly. The meal continued with laughter, the sound warm and familiar. Emma noticed how Lena's eyes followed Noah when he reached for the salt, or the way she nodded along to his stories, completely engaged. Emma could have felt jealous, but instead she felt something unusual, a growing empathy. Lena wasn't trying to steal Noah or break her marriage. Lena was simply expressing a longing for recognition, a desire to feel appreciated. Emma had felt that before in her own life, in moments when she wanted to be seen fully and not just politely acknowledged. After the plates were cleared, the three of them moved to the living room. Rain had started tapping against the windows, a soft rhythm that made the room feel quiet and intimate. Noah excused himself to take a phone call, leaving Emma and Lena alone. The silence between the two women was loaded but gentle, neither awkward nor tense, just honest. Lena fidgeted with her hands, unsure how to start a conversation. Emma, on the other hand, waited patiently, sensing the vulnerability in her guest. Finally, Lena spoke, almost in a whisper. I really like him," she said, her voice catching slightly. "Not in a way to hurt anyone, but he's special. I've never met anyone like him before." Her eyes dropped to her lap, and Emma could see the mixture of guilt and longing swirling in them. Emma's heart softened. She could have reacted with anger or annoyance, but instead, she felt an unexpected connection with Lena's honesty. Emma reached out slightly, offering a gentle, understanding tone. "I know that feeling," she said, "and I'm not upset with you." Lena looked up, surprised, her eyes widening at the calm, accepting words. Emma continued, "I invited you here tonight because I wanted to understand. And maybe because I wanted to see the truth, not just in words but in your heart." Lena's breath caught. She hadn't expected such openness. Her nervous tension seemed to ease slightly as she realized she was not being judged. The moment hung in the air between them, delicate and quiet. Emma noticed that Lena wasn't dangerous. She was simply a person with emotions, longing for acknowledgement and warmth. Emma herself realized that her curiosity had evolved into compassion. She wanted Lena to feel safe, to express what she felt, and to leave without regret. And more than that, she realized she wanted to explore her own feelings too. The ones she hadn't fully understood yet, the feelings stirred by seeing Lena's gentle admiration. The kind of unspoken connection that sometimes surprises a person in the quietest ways. Noah returned from his call, holding his phone casually. "Everything okay?" he asked, glancing at the two women. Emma and Lena exchanged looks, soft, meaningful, not accusatory, just honest. Emma smiled, a small, calm gesture. "Yes," she said. Noah nodded, his eyes searching Emma's face. He sensed the emotional shift, the subtle warmth, but he also felt the stability of their bond. He could tell the evening was different from ordinary dinners, yet it was still grounded in kindness and mutual respect. They spent the rest of the evening talking about shared memories, future plans, and small stories from their lives. Lena's presence was quiet but meaningful, her laughter soft and sincere. Emma noticed how Lena gradually relaxed, her admiration now paired with ease. The tension that had been there at the start of the evening transformed into something gentler, something respectful and human. Noah's easygoing presence anchored the room, providing comfort and a sense of security. By the time the night was winding down, Emma felt a new understanding forming. Lena wasn't just a coworker with a secret crush. She was someone who had vulnerabilities, someone who wanted to connect with others without harming anyone. And Emma realized that human emotions didn't have to be dangerous. They could be acknowledged and respected, creating space for empathy and growth. When Lena finally prepared to leave, she looked at Emma with gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you," she said softly. "For tonight, it meant more than you know." Emma nodded, sensing the quiet relief in her guest's voice. Noah stood nearby, silently observing the exchange. And he too understood that the evening had opened something delicate and meaningful for all of them. As Lena stepped out into the rain, Emma closed the door slowly. She felt a surprising calmness in her heart, a warmth she hadn't expected. The night had been more than a dinner, it had been an emotional journey, a gentle exploration of admiration, longing, and connection. Emma realized that sometimes love and human emotions were complicated, layered and delicate, but they didn't have to be dangerous. They could teach understanding, empathy, even self-discovery. Emma glanced at Noah, and he smiled at her knowingly, sensing the change in her. She smiled back, feeling grounded, yet awakened, ready for whatever lessons and connections the future might bring. The night had begun with quiet tension, but ended in something far richer, a shared understanding of hearts, emotions, and the quiet beauty of honesty. The evening lingered long after Lena had stepped outside, rain still tapping gently against the windows. Emma closed the door and leaned against it for a moment, her heart still quiet but full of thoughts she couldn't easily untangle. The night had been unusual, tender, and full of emotion, yet somehow it had been peaceful. Lena's presence had not caused tension or conflict. Instead, it had opened doors Emma hadn't expected to explore in herself. She walked slowly to the living room, where Noah was folding up the last of the dinner plates, his calm movements grounding her in the familiar rhythm of their life. Noah glanced up and noticed her expression. "Are you okay?" he asked softly, a hint of curiosity in his voice. Emma nodded, taking a deep breath. "I am," she said. "Tonight, it wasn't what I expected, but it was good, honest, and I think we all learned something." Noah set the plates aside and sat next to her, his hand brushing gently against hers. "Do you mean about Lena?" he asked. Emma smiled faintly. "Yes, about Lena, and about us. About understanding feelings, not fearing them." The quiet conversation allowed them both to reflect. Emma realized that human emotions could be complicated, layered, and sometimes unexpected. Attraction didn't always have to be dangerous. Admiration didn't have to mean betrayal. Lena had admired Noah, yes, but she had been honest and vulnerable. And that honesty had created something profound rather than threatening. Emma had watched and learned that a compassionate heart could handle complexity without fear. That trust in her own love and in Noah's loyalty gave her strength. Over the next few weeks, Lena's visits became occasional but comfortable. Each time she came, the atmosphere remained respectful and warm. There was laughter, shared stories, proud, and small moments of connection that didn't disrupt the family balance but added depth to everyone's understanding of each other. Lena was no longer a secret presence hovering in admiration. She became a friend, someone who could be herself without fear of judgment. Emma watched this transformation quietly, noticing the relief and joy that bloomed in Lena's expressions as she felt truly seen. Emma and Joao continued their life together, but Emma had grown more aware of the emotional currents that flowed between people. She had learned that attraction, longing, or admiration didn't have to destabilize a relationship. Instead, it could illuminate its strength, showing how trust, love, and respect could sustain even when emotions became complicated. Emma realized her heart had more room than she thought, could feel empathy, curiosity, and connection toward another person without diminishing the love she had for Noah. One evening, after a rainy day had cleared into a crisp night, Lena stopped by with a small gift, a framed photograph of a local park she had mentioned loving at work. She handed it to Emma with a shy smile. "I wanted you to have this," she said softly. Emma accepted it, feeling a warmth she couldn't describe. The gesture wasn't about romantic pursuit. It was about appreciation, acknowledgement, and friendship. Emma realized that the gift symbolized everything the past weeks had taught her. Emotions could be expressed safely, affection could be gentle, and connections could be meaningful without danger. Noah noticed the exchange, too. He smiled knowingly at Emma and gave Lena a brief nod of recognition. There was no tension, no awkwardness, only understanding. Emma felt proud of the balance they had all achieved. Lena's admiration had not become a problem. It had become an opportunity for trust, honesty, and emotional growth. Emma understood now that love wasn't threatened by admiration and was strengthened by it when handled with care and openness. As weeks turned into months, Lena's visits became a source of comfort for all three. They shared meals, exchanged stories, and laughed about small, everyday mishaps. Lena sometimes looked at Noah with the same soft admiration, but it no longer caused worry or unease. Instead, it reminded Emma of the strength of her own relationship and the security she felt with Noah. Emma realized that human hearts were capable of holding more than one type of connection, and that feeling empathy towards someone else didn't diminish her own love. One evening, Emma reflected quietly while sitting on the porch after Lena had left. The sky was a deep shade of navy, stars starting to peek through the clearing clouds. She thought about how fear might have easily taken over in another situation, how jealousy might have caused anger or suspicion could have ruined everything. But tonight, there was only calm, understanding, and gratitude. Emma realized that the choice to invite Lena over had been an act of courage, of emotional intelligence, and of trust in her own heart. She understood that embracing honesty and kindness allowed people to grow together without conflict. Noah joined her on the porch, his arm around her shoulder, and they watched the night quietly. "You handled tonight, all of this, beautifully," he said, his voice soft. Emma leaned into him, feeling the steady pulse of love and trust. "I think we all learned something," she replied, "about honesty, feelings, and how to care for each other without fear." They stayed in silence, connected. Feeling the strength of their bond, Emma realized that life wasn't about controlling every emotion or shielding oneself from admiration and longing. It was about understanding, listening, and creating space for human vulnerability. Lena's quiet presence had shown them all a path toward empathy and acceptance, and Emma felt grateful for the lesson. She also felt quietly proud that their love had remained unwavering, capable of holding strength even in the face of delicate, unexpected feelings. By the time Lena left that night, carrying a small sense of belonging and relief. Emma felt a calm satisfaction settle over her home. Nothing had been lost. Instead, something deeper had been gained. The evening had shown her that love could be secure, trust could be unshakable, and hearts could hold both intimacy and understanding without conflict. Lena's admiration had been acknowledged, Emma's feelings had been explored, and Noah's loyalty had remained constant. The result was a balance of hearts, gentle and unshakable, and a deeper understanding of what it truly meant to love and be loved. Emma finally realized that inviting Lena over had been more than a gesture of curiosity. It had been a decision that tested her patience, her compassion, and her trust. And in the end, it had rewarded her with clarity. Human connections could be tender, complicated, and meaningful without causing harm. She had learned that love is not fragile. It is expansive, capable of embracing honesty, vulnerability, and even admiration in its many forms. That night, as the household settled into quiet sleep, Emma smiled softly. She knew that their story had changed, not in ways dramatic or shocking, but in ways that mattered. They had learned to hold truth gently, to trust each other completely, and to accept that hearts can feel more than one type of connection. The night she invited Lena over would always remain a quiet turning point, a moment when curiosity met understanding, when admiration met acceptance, and when love proved its strength in the simplest, most human way possible.